And of course, as it goes on, all the good lines continue to get taken. Might have found one or two of my own, though. It's a privilege to be here this morning to talk to you about the success of the 2012 programme. £7 billion worth of work delivered on time and budget, transport and infrastructure centred on the park, and much has been said about that. The word leadership has come up a number of times, and I'd like to concentrate on that, and I'd like to link it to the social and economic benefits for the locality, about legacy, what it really means for people. And I think this is very important for other cities in other places also regenerating. It is the people who it's for at the end of the day. Very pleased that I've got two ex-colleagues here, one now dealing with legacy and one deeply involved in the socio-economic development of the park. So anything I said that's wrong, I'll get corrected, which will be helpful. Clearly it's the greatest event in the world, but the real success will be in legacy. And as John said, it was always about legacy. The Games is simply the lever, the hook on which to hang the regeneration of East London. And certainly I remember going down there on the first day, on the 27th of July, 07, and it was a ghost town. Very amazing place, but totally derelict, and huge amount of work to do. And it is amazing how close it was, and you've seen the photographs, so close to Canary Wharf and the city centres of wealth creation, and yet so deprived. So the economic regeneration was at the core of what we wanted to do. In the past, as again has been said, the Games often create a facility for the short term, and they leave local communities with nothing that they can really use other than a very, very substantial debt. I think it's right in saying, I'm right in saying that Vancouver finished about 33 years ago when the Games were held there, only finished paying for it 3 years ago. So that's what can happen. Hence the reason for John's comment, everything that couldn't have a long-term use was going to be temporary. No white elephants. It's already been mentioned, the social economic benefits to communities, and you've heard some of the comments already. But of course, these things couldn't have been achieved without clear leadership from government, from stakeholders, and from UK construction and engineering, all of whom saw this as a unique opportunity, and I think this is one of the important issues. It was a unique opportunity to bring together everybody in a common cause, and to be able to demonstrate what UK PLC could do on a world stage, and that was a very early objective for us all. One of the issues, of course, was to agree what everybody wanted, because in the early days, everyone had lots of aspirations about what we were going to do. In fact, to some extent, I sometimes felt that delivering the physical infrastructure was taken for granted as a given, and it was about all the other things. But it was right, though, that there should be that focus on the socio-economic regeneration. We've talked about employment, we've talked about training, we've talked about priority themes. These were all issues that were flowing around in our many stakeholders, and I'm sure in the places that you will be working in the future, the same things. Multiple stakeholders, everybody thinking they've got the most important say, and their cause is the most important one. And I'll come back to how we managed to handle that. One other issue, though, is how can you actually, I won't say use the word guarantee success, but success is not a given. But how can you actually precondition for success? So how can you gain a greater level of confidence that the completion of a very large and complex program can be achieved when you're starting? And the answer, first of all, is to learn from other people, to look at the way that other operations which have been successful have worked, and then to take those lessons. And we begged, borrowed and stole lessons from all over the place, in order that we could precondition the outcome for success in the early stages. That preconditioning process led us to something called the 2012 construction commitments, which is where the aspirations of many stakeholders came together. And I'm going to take you through a few of those, if I may, but again, reverting to the primary focus of attention, an opportunity to demonstrate what UK PLC could do. And there are 6 prime elements to the construction commitments. And what we did, we said very publicly with the then minister that we would all abide by these drivers, and we expected other people to behave in the same way and to embrace these in the same way that we intended to do. And I'll just take you through them because I think they're very important. The first is health and safety and the welfare of the workforce. Everybody deserve to go home safe every night, and that's, for me, is an absolute given. But the other issue is it's good business, because an engaged and safe workforce is more productive, is more efficient, and will produce a better product. And I think we've proved that. And we've made the linkage between safety and productivity. Next, client leadership. We were asked, and I believe we did, lead from the front. That's what people expected, and that's what we did. And bear in mind, that's a government department speaking. It wasn't about policy. It was about getting hands dirty and getting out and getting things done. It's about setting very clear goals that were very easily understood, and then performing to them. And also, importantly, creating an environment for success where every participant, either corporate or individual, could actually give of their best. Design quality was important. That's been mentioned a number of times. Creative, sustainable, deliverable. And I think the proof is what you see on the TV. Sustainability has been mentioned a lot this morning. I heard on previous speakers. But it's not just about the environment, and we've heard already from the Minister and from John about the numbers of people employed, unemployed people, residents, minority communities. 16% of the workforce from minority communities. There's another statistic. And the other one is some 3,500 serious training interventions to train people into work and to offer them long-term opportunities. Procurement and integration was an issue that was very important, particularly to industry, and they wanted us to focus on value, not lowest price, and that's what we did. And we used a system of balanced scorecards in order to allow us to be able to evaluate not just cost, but commitment to the commitments that we wanted them to make, particularly in the socio-economic areas. And it's worth remembering that for every pound spent, 75% actually is about regeneration, and that's particularly important. So I hope that gives you a little insight into some of the preparations, and particularly the importance of actually standing up and leading. There are many lessons to be learned, and they will, of course, be passed on through the ODA's Legacy Learning Programme, which is available to everybody. But I think for me, there are just half a dozen very key issues. The first is complete clarity of mission, communicated to everybody clearly and precisely. An appropriate organisation in terms of its structure and its composition, which reflects and seeks to replicate the successful factors of previous and other programmes. An absolutely relentless focus on delivery. If it can be done today, it must be done today. Tomorrow was never going to be good enough. Finally, respect for all the participants, no matter who they were or where they were or what they did. I've worked on a lot of projects over the last 40 years. I have never worked in such a respectful environment on the park with the workforce. And I think my colleagues would probably agree with that. And finally, of course, everybody deserves to go home safe every night. UK Construction, with government, with our many stakeholders, came together in a very common cause. And I do believe that we've put UK PLC on the world stage. We now stand ready to support customers and colleagues in other countries around the world. And I've just been in about 5 countries in South America, in Asia, and in the Middle East. And what has been done here is undoubtedly being respected elsewhere. And what we need to do is to sell that effectively and to offer, in an appropriate way, the help and support to those who have got their own challenges. Thank you very much.